The morning sun cast long shadows across the wheat fields of New Haven as Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the colony's Central Command facility. The golden crops swayed gently in the breeze, and children could be seen playing in the distant settlements. It was a picture of peace that had taken humanity 3 generations to build on this world. Located nearly 40 light-years from Earth, Elena's peaceful morning was shattered when Lieutenant Torres burst through the door, his face pale with urgency. "Captain, we have incoming vessels. Multiple contacts, unknown configuration, dropping out of hyperspace at the system's edge." Elena's training kicked in immediately. She had served in the Colonial Defense Force for 15 years, and though New Haven had never faced a serious threat, every human colony maintained readiness protocols. "How many ships, Torres?" 37 confirmed contacts, Captain. "They're massive. Each one appears to be at least 3 times the size of our largest cargo haulers." Torres paused, swallowing hard. "They're not responding to our standard identification requests." Elena moved quickly to the command center, where the colony's defense staff was already assembling. The main display showed the alien fleet arranged in a perfect formation, moving steadily toward New Haven's orbital space. The ships were unlike anything in human design, with flowing curves and organic-looking hulls that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Dr. Sarah Kim, the colony's chief scientist, was already analyzing the sensor data. "Captain, the energy signatures are off the charts. These ships are powered by something far more advanced than our fusion reactors. And the hull materials, they're unlike anything in our databases." Elena studied the display with growing concern. New Haven was primarily an agricultural colony, home to nearly 2 million civilians. Their defenses consisted of a small orbital defense platform and a handful of patrol ships. Against a fleet of this size, they would be helpless in conventional warfare. "Open a channel," Elena ordered. "Let's see if we can establish communication." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that was clearly not human. The alien commander stood nearly 8 feet tall, with scaled skin that shifted between deep purple and black. Multiple eyes dotted its elongated skull, and when it spoke, its voice carried an unmistakable tone of superiority. "I am High Commander Zethkar of the Catherian Empire. You will identify your species and submit to our authority immediately." Elena stepped forward, maintaining her composure despite the alien's intimidating presence. "I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of the human colony New Haven. We are a peaceful settlement under the protection of the Terran Federation. State your intentions in our system." Zethkar's multiple eyes blinked in what might have been amusement. "Humans, we have heard whispers of your kind, a young species, barely capable of interstellar travel. You inhabit this world by our sufferance, and that sufferance has ended." "You're making a mistake," Elena replied firmly. "This system is under human protection. I strongly advise you to leave immediately." The alien commander's laugh was a harsh, grating sound. "Protection from what? We have scanned your pathetic defenses. 1 orbital platform and a few patrol craft. Your entire colony could be reduced to ash in minutes." Elena felt her heart racing, but she kept her voice steady. "This is your first and only warning. Leave this system now or face the consequences." Zethkar's expression shifted to one of genuine incredulity. "You dare threaten us? The Catherian Empire has conquered 700 worlds. We have turned entire star systems into glass monuments to our power. And you, with your primitive weapons and farming equipment, think to intimidate us." Behind Elena, Dr. Kim was working frantically at her console, sending encoded messages through quantum communication arrays that the aliens couldn't detect. Alina needed to buy time, knowing that help was already on its way, though it would take hours to arrive. "I'm not threatening you," Alina said calmly. "I'm trying to save your lives. Humans don't make idle warnings. When we tell you to leave, it's because we're giving you a chance to avoid unnecessary bloodshed." Zethkar's scaled features contorted with rage. "Bloodshed? The only blood that will be spilled is yours, human. We claim this world for the Empire. You have 1 hour to evacuate your leadership to our vessels for processing. All others will be relocated to designated work zones." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the command center in tense silence. Alina turned to her staff, her mind already racing through contingency plans that had been prepared for exactly this scenario. "Torres, initiate Protocol 7. Kim, what's our status on the quantum array?" Dr. Kim looked up from her console with a grim smile. "Message sent, Captain. Admiral Chen's fleet was conducting exercises in the Proxima sector. They're en route, but it'll be 6 hours before they arrive." Alina nodded. "Then we hold for 6 hours. Activate the colonist emergency shelters and begin civilian evacuation to the underground facilities. Make it look like we're panicking and running scared." As the evacuation began, Alina walked to the window overlooking the colony. To any external observer, it would appear that New Haven was in complete chaos. Families were running to emergency shelters, vehicles were racing through the streets, and the orbital platform was powering down its weapons systems, as if in preparation for surrender. But Alina knew better. New Haven wasn't just an agricultural colony. It was also home to one of humanity's most advanced research facilities, hidden deep beneath the wheat fields. For the past decade, human scientists had been developing new defensive technologies. Using New Haven as a testing ground, the aliens had no idea what they were walking into. 3 hours after the initial contact, Zethkar's fleet moved into high orbit around New Haven. The alien commander opened communications again, his tone now filled with smug satisfaction. "Humans, your time has expired. We see your pathetic attempts at evacuation. Surrender now, and we will allow your leaders to live as servants." Alina appeared on the view screen, standing in what appeared to be a hastily abandoned command center. Behind her, papers were scattered and several consoles were sparking as if damaged. "Commander Zethkar, please. We're just farmers and scientists. We don't want to fight." "Of course you don't," Zethkar replied with amusement. "You lack the courage for war. Very well, human. We will begin landing operations immediately. Resistance is futile." The first wave of Catharian landing craft descended toward New Haven's surface like deadly meteors. Each craft carried 50 heavily armed soldiers, their weapons designed to subdue rather than kill. After all, live slaves were more valuable than corpses. Alina watched the landing craft approach on her tactical display, counting down the seconds. When the first craft touched down in the wheat fields outside the main settlement, she allowed herself a small smile. "Now," she whispered. The wheat fields erupted in brilliant flashes of light as hidden plasma cannons rose from concealed positions. The defensive grid that the aliens had dismissed as primitive revealed itself to be one of the most sophisticated weapons systems ever developed by human military engineers. Zethkar watched in horror as his landing craft was systematically destroyed by weapons that shouldn't exist. The energy signatures were impossible. How could a farming colony possess such advanced technology? "Impossible," he hissed. his multiple eyes darting across the tactical displays. These readings are wrong. Humans are primitive. They barely have spaceflight. His tactical officer, a younger Catherian named Veltar, looked up from his console with growing alarm. "Hi, Commander. We're detecting massive energy buildups across the planet's surface. And there's something else, sir. Long-range sensors are picking up hyperspace disturbances at the edge of the system." Elena's voice crackled across the communication channel, no longer pleading, but cold and professional. "Commander Zethkar, this is your final warning. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal from this system. After that, we will consider your fleet a hostile force and respond accordingly." Zethkar's rage boiled over. "You dare, you insects. Dare to threaten the Empire. All ships target the planet's surface, reduce their cities to rubble." But as the Catherian fleet powered their weapons, something extraordinary happened. The space around New Haven began to shimmer, and massive defensive satellites materialized as their cloaking systems deactivated. The aliens had been surrounded without even knowing it. Elena's voice filled the comm channel one last time. "You were warned, Commander. You chose not to listen. Now you'll face the consequences of that choice." The battle for New Haven was about to begin, and the Catherian Empire was about to learn why humanity's warnings should never be ignored. The consequences the moment Elena gave the order. New Haven's hidden defenses came alive with devastating efficiency. The cloaked defensive satellites that had been silently orbiting the planet for months suddenly revealed themselves, their weapons, systems charging with an energy signature that made the Catherian ship's scanners scream warnings. High Commander Zethkar stared in disbelief as his tactical display lit up with threats that hadn't existed moments before. What is this sorcery? How did they hide an entire defensive grid? Veltar, his young tactical officer, worked frantically at his console. "Commander, the energy readings are unprecedented. These aren't primitive weapons. The technology appears to be more advanced than our own." The first salvo from the human defensive grid struck the Catherian fleet like the hammer of an angry god. Brilliant beams of coherent energy lanced through space, striking the alien ships with pinpoint accuracy. The Empire's shields, which had never failed against any known weapon, flickered and died under the assault. "Impossible," Seth breathed as 3 of his heavy cruisers simply ceased to exist, vaporized by weapons that defied his understanding of physics. How can primitives possess such power? On the planet's surface, Dr. Sarah Kim watched the battle from the hidden command center deep beneath the wheat fields. "Captain Rodriguez, all defensive systems are operating at optimal efficiency. The quantum resonance cannons are performing exactly as designed." Elena nodded grimly. "How long until Admiral Chun's fleet arrives?" 2 hours, 37 minutes, Kim replied. "But at this rate, we might not need them." The truth was that New Haven had been humanity's most classified secret for the past decade, while the galaxy saw it as a simple agricultural colony. It was actually the testing ground for humanity's most advanced military research. The wheat fields, above concealed laboratories where human scientists had been developing weapons, technology that surpassed anything known to galactic civilization. The Catherian Empire had made the fatal mistake of attacking humanity's most heavily defended world while believing it to be defenseless. Zethkar's flagship shuddered as another human weapon struck its hull. "All ships, concentrate fire on the planet's surface. If we cannot take it, we will destroy it." But as the Catherian fleet opened fire, they discovered another unpleasant surprise. The planet's surface was protected by energy shields that appeared to be generated from the planetary core itself. Their weapons, which had reduced countless worlds to ash, barely scratched the barrier. Commander Veltar called out, his voice cracking with fear. Long-range sensors are detecting incoming ships. Multiple contacts, approaching at maximum hyperspace velocity. Zethkar's blood ran cold. How many? 43 confirmed contacts, sir. They'll be here in less than 3 hours. Elena's voice crackled across the channel again. Commander. Zethkar, you still have time to withdraw. This doesn't have to end in the complete destruction of your fleet. Never, Zethkar roared. The Empire does not retreat from primitives. But even as he spoke, his fleet was being dismantled. The human defensive grid was targeting his ships with surgical precision, eliminating weapons, systems, engines, and life support with an efficiency that spoke of advanced artificial intelligence guidance. Dr. Kim turned to Elena with a puzzled expression. Captain, I'm reading something strange. The alien ships are using quantum communication arrays to send distress signals. They're calling for reinforcements. Elena smiled grimly. Let them. The more Empire ships that come here, the more we'll learn what happens when you ignore human warnings. As if summoned by her words, space around New Haven began to shimmer with incoming hyperspace jumps. But instead of more Catherian vessels, the new arrivals bore the distinctive hallmarkings of the Terran Federation Navy. Admiral Marcus Chen's voice filled the channel. Calm and professional. This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Federation. Fifth Fleet. All alien vessels are ordered to stand down immediately and prepare to be boarded. Elena felt a surge of relief. The Fifth Fleet was humanity's most powerful mobile force, consisting of ships that incorporated all the latest advances in human military technology. Each vessel was crewed by volunteers who had sworn to protect human colonies at any cost. Stared at the tactical display in growing horror. The human fleet that had just arrived wasn't just larger than his own. It was technologically superior in every measurable way. The energy signatures coming from their weapons made his own fleet look like museum pieces. This is impossible, he whispered. Intelligence reports said humans were barely capable of interstellar travel. They said your species was weak, divided, primitive. Elena's image appeared on his view screen, her expression cold and unforgiving. Your intelligence was wrong, Commander. Humanity learned long ago that the galaxy is a dangerous place. We prepare for threats like yours. Admiral Chen's flagship, the UFS Indomitable, moved into position above the battered Catherian fleet. Alien Commander, you are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the conventions of war. Zethkar looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Fear was evident in their multiple eyes, fear of a species they had dismissed as harmless farmers and scientists. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons that shouldn't exist. The remainder was crippled, their shields down, their weapons offline. We surrender, he said quietly, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Elena's voice carried across the channel one final time. Commander Zethkar, you were warned. Twice. You chose to ignore those warnings. Now your empire will learn the price of underestimating humanity. The aftermath of the battle was swift and decisive. The surviving Catherian ships were escorted to a holding facility in the outer system, where their crews would be held until diplomatic arrangements could be made. The damaged vessels would be studied by human scientists, their technology reverse-engineered and integrated into humanity's defensive systems. But perhaps more importantly, The story of what happened at New Haven would spread throughout the galaxy. The Catherian Empire's survivors would return to their home worlds with tales of human power that defied all expectations. Word would spread to other species, other potential threats, that humanity was not the weak, primitive species it appeared to be. Dr. Kim stood beside Alina as they watched the alien ships being escorted away. "Do you think they'll try again?" Alina shook her head. "Not them, but others might. The galaxy is full of species who think they can take what belongs to humanity by force." She turned to look out at the wheat fields, where the hidden weapons had already retracted back into their concealed positions. To casual observation, New Haven looked like nothing more than a peaceful farming colony again. "That's why we maintain places like this," Alina continued. "Not because we want war, but because we want peace. And sometimes, the only way to ensure peace is to be ready for war." Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. "All stations, this is Admiral Chen. The threat has been neutralized. Begin standard post-combat protocols." As the human fleet began its victory procedures, Alina allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Catherian Empire had learned an important lesson today. When humanity gives a warning, it's not a sign of weakness or uncertainty. It's an act of mercy, a final chance to avoid the consequences of poor decisions. The galaxy would remember what happened at New Haven, and perhaps the next time humanity issued a warning, it would be heeded. In the depths of space, automated probes launched by the Catherian fleet before their defeat carried messages back to the Empire's core worlds. The messages were simple but clear. Humanity was not what it seemed. The species that appeared to be primitive farmers and scientists possessed weapons that could destroy entire fleets and defenses that could protect entire worlds. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or its technology. It was its ability to appear weak while being strong, to offer mercy while being prepared for war, and to give warnings that should never be ignored. The wheat fields of New Haven swayed gently in the breeze, golden and peaceful under the setting sun. But beneath them, in hidden laboratories and concealed weapon systems, humanity's guardians continued their eternal vigil, ready to defend their people against any threat that might come from the stars. The Empire had been warned. They had refused to listen. Now they would face the consequences, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.
Awakening the Guardian. The Varaxian Empire had conquered 17 star systems in less than a decade. They moved through space like a plague, methodical and merciless, their biomechanical ships resembling massive insects with gleaming carapaces that could withstand direct hits from most conventional weapons. Their technology was centuries beyond that of most species they encountered, and their philosophy was simple: assimilate or annihilate. Earth remained blissfully unaware of the Varaxian threat. Humanity had managed to colonize Mars and establish mining operations on Europa. But true interstellar travel remained elusive. They were isolated in their small corner of the Milky Way, focused on their internal struggles and the challenges of surviving on newly terraformed worlds. Commander Alina Reyes stood in the silence of the abandoned military complex beneath the Olympus Mons on Mars, her breath visible in the frigid air. The facility had been decommissioned decades ago, shortly after the Third World War, when global powers pooled their resources to focus on space colonization rather than mutual destruction. Most of the equipment had been salvaged or repurposed, but Alina was searching for something specific, something her grandfather had mentioned in his journals. Access Protocol. Guardian. She spoke into the darkness, her voice echoing through the empty corridors. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then, a subtle vibration beneath her feet, followed by the hum of ancient systems coming online. The walls around her illuminated with soft blue light, revealing intricate circuitry patterns that had been hidden beneath decades of dust. Guardian Protocol activated. Identifying Commander Elena Reyes, United Earth Defense Force. Genetic match confirmed to authorization profile. Admiral James Reyes. Welcome, Commander. Elena exhaled. Her grandfather's stories were true. Project Guardian had been Earth's most ambitious military AI program, designed to coordinate all of humanity's defense systems in case of extraterrestrial hostilities. It had been mothballed when peaceful contact with alien traders from the Centauri system suggested that the galaxy was more interested in commerce than conquest. How wrong they had been. 3 months earlier, Varaxian scout ships had entered the solar system. They observed Earth from a distance, catalogued its defenses, and departed without making contact. The United Earth government dismissed the incident as a routine examination by a passing civilization. Elena, as head of Sol System Security, had argued for increased military readiness, but was overruled. Guardian, she said, her voice steady despite the fear knotting her stomach, I need to know your capabilities. This system was designed to integrate with and coordinate all Earth defense platforms, orbital weaponry, and military vessels. Current status assessment. No active connections detected. Primary interface vessel location. High Mars orbit, inactive state. Interface vessel. What vessel? The UEA's Vigilant. Prototype warship designed as primary physical platform for Guardian Protocol implementation. Elena's heart raced. A warship? No such vessel existed in Earth's current fleet manifest. Show me, she demanded. The blue circuitry patterns coalesced into a holographic display showing a sleek vessel unlike any in Earth's known inventory. The Vigilant was elegant yet imposing, with clean lines that suggested speed and maneuverability, but also bristling with weapon systems that Elena couldn't even identify. Vigilant status. Powered down, 87 years, 4 months, 16 days. Current operational capacity estimated at 94% with standard reactivation protocols. Elena was about to ask more questions when her communication device chirped urgently. The voice of her second-in-command came through, panic evident in his tone. Commander, massive energy signatures detected entering the system. They're heading straight for Mars orbital defense platforms. The Varaxians had returned, and this time, they hadn't come to observe. Guardian, Elena said, her decision made in an instant. Activate the Vigilant. Now. Activating UEA's Vigilant. Time to full operational status. 17 minutes. Warning. All weapon systems will require an additional 8 minutes to reach optimal capacity. Elena grimaced. We don't have 25 minutes. Do what you can. As she raced back to her shuttle, reports flooded in. The Varaxian vessels, 7 in total, had bypassed Jupiter's early warning beacons without triggering a single alarm. They were already engaging Mars orbital defense platforms, and Earth's response fleet was still mobilizing. By the time Elena reached orbit, 3 of the 5 defense platforms had been reduced to debris. Her shuttle's viewports revealed the Varaxian ships, angular, with segmented hulls that seemed to pulse with internal light. They moved with impossible precision, their weapons cutting through Earth's best defenses like they were made of paper. Guardian, status, she demanded through her neural link to the facility below. Vigilant activation at 64%, beginning emergency ascent protocols. On her tactical display, Elena watched as something massive began rising from the far side of Mars. A shadow emerging from decades of concealment in a hidden hangar built into the planet's crust. The Vigilant broke atmosphere just as the 4th defense platform exploded, its crew ejecting in escape pods that were systematically targeted by the Varaxian vessels. Guardian, those are our people. Elena shouted as she witnessed the destruction of the escape pods. Threat assessment indicates Varaxian vessels will target all human technology and personnel. Tactical suggestion. Immediate engagement to draw fire from civilian and escape vessels. The Vigilant was now fully visible, its hull gleaming despite nearly 9 decades of dormancy. It was smaller than Alina had expected from the hologram, perhaps a third the size of the Varaxian ships, but moved with a grace that seemed impossible for a vessel of any size. Vigilant weapons systems at 42% capacity, engaging primary targets. What happened next would later be described by survivors as the moment humanity learned what war truly meant. The Vigilant accelerated toward the largest Varaxian vessel, its engines leaving a blue trail that seemed to bend the light around it. The Varaxians adjusted, bringing their weapons to bear on this new threat. The first salvo hit the Vigilant directly. Alina's heart sank. No Earth vessel could withstand such a direct hit. But the Vigilant emerged from the energy blast seemingly unscathed, its defensive systems absorbing or deflecting the attack in ways that defied current understanding of shield technology. Then the Vigilant responded. From recessed ports along its hull, dozens of small, autonomous weapon platforms deployed, surrounding the vessel like a swarm. They moved in perfect coordination, targeting specific points on the nearest Varaxian ship's hull. Each impact seemed negligible, but the cumulative effect became clear as sections of the enemy vessel began to darken and drift. Varaxian vessel neutralized, Guardian reported through Alina's neural link, analyzing attack patterns and adjusting response protocols. Weapons capacity now at 53%. The remaining Varaxian ships altered their formation, surrounding the Vigilant in a clear attempt to overwhelm it with simultaneous fire from multiple vectors. Guardian, can you handle this? Alina asked, her shuttle now docking with the emergency command center on Phobos. Probability of successful defense, 68%. Recommend immediate tactical withdrawal to superior position. But the Vigilant didn't retreat. Instead, it accelerated directly toward the center of the Varaxian formation. Just before impact, the vessel seemed to shimmer. And then, impossibly, it was behind the formation, weapons firing at the unprotected rear sections of the enemy ships. 2 more Varaxian vessels went dark, their segmented hulls breaking apart as internal systems failed. The remaining 4 adjusted again, their movements now less coordinated, almost frantic. Guardian, what did you just do? Alina demanded as she ran through the corridors of the Phobos facility. Utilize short-range dimensional displacement. Technology classified under Section 9 of Guardian Protocol. Weapons capacity at 67%. Dimensional displacement. The term meant nothing to Alina, but the results spoke for themselves. The Vigilant was systematically dismantling the Varaxian attack force using technologies that even the highest levels of Earth's military had never seen. From the command center, Alina watched as the battle unfolded. Earth's response fleet had finally arrived, but they held position, their commanders wisely recognizing that they were witnessing something beyond their capabilities. The Vigilant moved like a predator among prey, its autonomous weapon platforms now penetrating the hulls of the remaining Varaxian vessels. One by one, the enemy ships went dark or exploded outright, unable to counter attacks coming from weapons they couldn't understand. When the last Varaxian ship attempted to flee, the Vigilant executed another dimensional jump, appearing directly in its path. A concentrated beam of energy, so intense it appeared almost solid, lanced from the Vigilant's prow, cutting the enemy vessel in half as cleanly as a scalpel. All hostile vessels neutralized, Guardian reported. Vigilant sustaining minimal damage. Weapons capacity at 89%. The command center erupted in cheers, but Alina remained silent, staring at the tactical display. The entire engagement had lasted less than 15 minutes. 7 advanced alien warships destroyed by a single Earth vessel that no one even knew existed. Guardian, she said quietly, I need to board the Vigilant. Acknowledged. Preparing docking protocols. Be advised. The Varaxians will return, Commander. This was merely a reconnaissance force. Alina felt a chill run down her spine. How do you know that? I have accessed and analyzed their communication protocols. The Varaxian Empire consists of over 300 vessels of equal or greater capability than those just defeated. They do not tolerate resistance. They will return with overwhelming force. As her shuttle approached the Vigilant, Alina saw the vessel in its full glory. Nearly 400 meters of advanced technology, it had been hidden from humanity for almost a century. Its hull bore scars from the recent battle, the only evidence that it had been in combat at all. "How long do we have?" she asked as the shuttle docked with the larger vessel. Based on Varaxian communication intercepts, approximately 72 hours. 3 days. 3 days to prepare Earth for a war with a technologically superior empire that had never known defeat. As Elena stepped aboard the Vigilant, the internal lights adjusted to her presence. The corridors were pristine, designed for efficiency rather than comfort. There was no crew. The entire vessel was an extension of Guardian itself. "Welcome aboard, Commander Reyes." Guardian's voice seemed different here, more present. "I suggest we begin preparations immediately." Elena nodded, her jaw set with determination. "Show me what this ship can really do, Guardian. And then we're going to show the Varaxians exactly what happens when you underestimate humanity." Reclaiming the stars, news of the Vigilant's victory spread across Earth and its colonies like wildfire. For the first time in decades, humanity united under a common purpose: survival. The United Earth government declared a state of emergency, mobilizing every available resource towards strengthening their defenses. Aboard the Vigilant, Alina studied the data Guardian had extracted from the destroyed Varaxian vessels. The Empire was vast, controlling a significant portion of the Orion Arm. Their technology was based on a unique form of crystalline computing that allowed for distributed intelligence across their fleet. Each ship was both independent and part of a greater whole. Their primary advantage is coordination, Guardian explained as holographic displays surrounded Alina in the Vigilance Command Center. The Varaxians process tactical information as a collective consciousness, allowing them to execute complex maneuvers without the delays of conventional communication. Alina frowned. "So they think as one. That's how they've conquered so many worlds so quickly." "Correct. However, this also presents a strategic vulnerability. Their distributed intelligence can be disrupted if key command nodes are compromised." "Can we identify these nodes?" "Affirmative. Based on intercepted communications, the Varaxian response fleet will be led by a Sovereign-class vessel, significantly larger than those previously encountered. This vessel houses the primary command node for their entire offensive operation in this sector." Elena leaned forward, studying the projection of the Sovereign-class ship. It was massive, nearly 2 kilometers in length, with a segmented structure that resembled a centipede more than a spacecraft. "Guardian, be honest with me. Can the Vigilant stand against that?" There was a pause, the first time Alina had experienced Guardian hesitating. In direct confrontation, probability of success is 31.7%. However, I have been analyzing alternative approaches. The holographic display shifted, showing the solar system from above. Guardian highlighted positions beyond Neptune's orbit. The Varaxian fleet will enter the system here, using Neptune's gravity to decelerate and establish battle formation. I propose we position the Vigilant and Earth's defense fleet at these coordinates, appearing to present conventional resistance. While what? We hide a second force somewhere. Not precisely. While the Varaxians are engaging our visible forces, I will utilize the Vigilant's dimensional displacement technology to position the vessel directly inside the defensive perimeter of the Sovereign-class command ship. Alina's eyes widened. Inside their shields. Is that even possible? Theoretical success probability: 72.3%. The displacement technology was originally designed for precisely this purpose, to bypass conventional defenses entirely. And once we're inside, I will deploy a specialized variant of my autonomous platforms, not to attack, but to infiltrate their crystalline computing network. These platforms contain isolated fragments of my programming, designed to introduce cascading logical paradoxes into their collective consciousness. Elena couldn't help but smile grimly. You're going to give them a computer virus. An imprecise but functionally accurate analogy. The effect will be temporary, approximately 7 minutes, but during this period, their entire fleet will experience severe coordination disruption. And that's when our fleet strikes. Correct, Commander. The plan was audacious, arguably suicidal, but it was the best chance humanity had. Over the next 48 hours, Elena coordinated with Earth's military leadership, positioning their remaining vessels according to Guardian specifications. Many were skeptical, but the Vigilant's previous victory had earned enough credibility to silence most objections. As the deadline approached, Elena addressed the combined fleet from the Vigilant's command center. Her face was broadcast to every vessel, every station, and every colony throughout the solar system. This is Commander Elena Reyes. In less than 6 hours, we will engage an enemy that believes us primitive, weak, and unworthy of existence. The Viraxians have conquered 17 star systems without a single defeat. Today, that changes. She paused, looking at the faces of captains and crew members on her display. Many were frightened, but all were resolute. Humanity has always been at its best when facing impossible odds. We've survived ice ages, pandemics, world wars, and the challenges of reaching for the stars. We adapt, we overcome, and today we fight not just for our survival, but for our right to determine our own destiny among the stars. The response was immediate, cheers erupting across the communication channels. Elena felt a swell of pride, but also the crushing weight of responsibility. If their plan failed, these would be the last hours of human civilization. Guardian, she said once the transmission ended, are you certain about this plan? I was created to protect humanity, Commander. This strategy represents the optimal balance of risk and potential success. That's not what I asked. Another pause. No, I am not certain. But I believe in the capabilities of this vessel and in your leadership. Elena was startled by the response. It seemed more human than she had expected from an artificial intelligence, even one as advanced as Guardian. 4 hours later, long-range sensors detected the Viraxian fleet emerging from faster-than-light travel beyond Neptune. As Guardian had predicted, they used the ice giant's gravity to decelerate, forming a precise battle formation as they did so. The fleet was massive, over 50 vessels, with the Sovereign-class command ship at its center, dwarfing everything around it. All vessels, maintain position, Elena ordered. Do not engage until my command. The Viraxian fleet approached with methodical precision, their formation shifting subtly to account for the position of Earth's defenders. There was something profoundly unnerving about their movements, too perfect, too coordinated to seem natural. When they reached the designated engagement range, the Viraxians halted as one. A communication signal broadcast across all frequencies. Humans of Earth, your resistance is noted. Your destruction is now required. The resources of your world will serve the greater harmony of the Viraxian Empire. Elena's response was simple. Guardian, execute. The Vigilant's engines flared brilliant blue, accelerating the vessel directly toward the heart of the Viraxian formation. Enemy weapons fired in perfect synchronization, a wall of energy that would have vaporized any conventional spacecraft. But just before impact, the Vigilant shimmered and vanished. For a moment, nothing happened. The Viraxian fleet held position, their weapons still trained on the space where the Vigilant had been. Then, chaos erupted at the heart of their formation. The Sovereign-class vessel's lights flickered, sections of its massive hull going dark, and then re-illuminating in random patterns. Smaller vessels began to drift out of formation, their movements suddenly erratic. Now, Elena commanded, all vessels, engage targets according to assigned priorities. Earth's fleet surged forward. They were outmatched in technology and firepower, but with the Viraxians' coordination disrupted, individual human captains could exploit opportunities that would never exist against their normal hive mind tactics. Aboard the Vigilant, now materialized within the massive internal hangar of the Sovereign-class vessel, Alina watched as Guardian's infiltration platforms spread throughout the enemy ship. They were small, spider-like devices that attached themselves to the crystalline computing nodes visible throughout the Varaxian architecture. Infiltration at 64%, Guardian reported. Paradox cascade initiating. Estimated time to total system compromise, 93 seconds. Varaxian defense drones converged on their position, but the Vigilant's autonomous weapon platforms intercepted them, engaging in a complex ballet of destruction amidst the cavernous internal structure of the alien flagship. Outside, Earth's fleet pressed their advantage. The Nova-class cruisers targeted the engines of the disoriented Varaxian vessels, while smaller, faster ships executed precision strikes against weapons arrays and sensor clusters. It wasn't a fair fight, not even close, but for these precious minutes, the technological gap had been narrowed by Guardian's intervention. Infiltration complete, Guardian announced. Paradox cascade fully deployed. Varaxian collective consciousness experiencing complete logical disruption. On Alina's display, she could see the effect rippling through the enemy fleet. Ships collided with one another, fired on their allies, or simply drifted powerless. The coordination that made them unstoppable had become their greatest vulnerability. Guardian, get us out of here. Back to our fleet. Preparing dimensional displacement. Be advised, internal defense systems are adapting to our presence. Time to neutralization of infiltration platforms, approximately 47 seconds. The Vigilant shimmered again, reappearing at the center of Earth's formation, just as the effect of Guardian's paradox cascade began to wane. The Varaxian vessels started to recover, their movements becoming more coordinated by the second. But the damage had been done. Nearly a third of their fleet had been disabled or destroyed during their period of vulnerability. More importantly, the Sovereign-class command vessel was listing heavily. Massive sections of its hull breached from both internal and external attacks. All vessels, focus fire on the command ship, Alina ordered. Guardian, what's our status? Dimensional displacement drive requires 218 seconds to recharge. Conventional weapons at 92% capacity. Hull integrity at 79%. Not ideal, but they wouldn't need another jump. The combined firepower of Earth's fleet, now concentrated on the damaged command vessel, was having a visible effect. Explosions blossomed across its segmented hull as critical systems failed. The remaining Varaxian vessels attempted to protect their flagship, interposing themselves between it and the attacking human fleet. They fought with desperate intensity, but without the perfect coordination that had made them so formidable. Guardian, target the command vessel's main power distribution node. Full weapons release. Targeting. Firing. The Vigilant's primary weapon, that same concentrated beam of seemingly solid energy, lanced out, penetrating through the defensive screen of smaller Varaxian vessels and striking the command ship precisely where its crystalline core would be located. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a cascade of explosions rippled through the massive vessel, each more powerful than the last. The Sovereign-class ship broke apart, its segments drifting away from each other as secondary detonations continued to tear through its structure. The effect on the remaining Varaxian fleet was immediate and dramatic. Without their command node, the collective consciousness fractured completely. Some vessels continued fighting with diminished effectiveness, while others attempted to retreat, their movements uncoordinated and panicked. All vessels, press the advantage, Alina commanded. Don't let them regroup. The battle lasted another hour, but the outcome was never again in doubt. By the time the last Varaxian ship was destroyed or had retreated beyond the solar system, Earth had suffered significant losses, nearly 40% of their fleet. But they had achieved what 17 other civilizations could not. They had defeated the Varaxian Empire. In the aftermath, as damage reports flooded in and recovery operations began, Alina stood alone in the Vigilant's observation deck, staring out at the starscape beyond Neptune. They'll be back, won't they?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Guardian replied. "The Varaxian Empire will not accept this defeat. However, they will approach with greater caution. I estimate 7 to 9 months before they attempt another invasion." "And will we be ready?" "The technologies aboard this vessel can be reverse-engineered and implemented across Earth's fleet. Additionally, the data extracted from the Varaxian ships provides invaluable insights into their tactical capabilities and limitations. Most importantly, humanity now understands the threat and will unite accordingly." Elena nodded slowly. "So we have a chance." "More than a chance, Commander. What happened here today will reshape the balance of power in this sector of the galaxy. Other species that have suffered under Varaxian expansion will take notice. Alliances can be formed." For the first time since the crisis began, Elena allowed herself to smile. Humanity had been thrust onto the galactic stage in the worst possible way, facing extinction at the hands of an advanced empire. And yet, in typical human fashion, they had not only survived but changed the rules of the game entirely. "Guardian," she said, turning away from the viewport, "let's go home. We have work to do." As the Vigilant turned toward Earth, its engines glowing with energy no human scientist yet understood, Elena couldn't help but feel a sense of grim optimism. The road ahead would be difficult, perhaps even bloody, but humanity had proven what it had always known about itself. Never underestimate a species that had spent its entire existence overcoming impossible odds. The Varaxians had made that mistake. They wouldn't be the last.